Okay, so if we look at our plans with measurements, you see that all measurements are in standard. They're inches. We have 3 pieces: the main body panel, the air scoop, and the 2 fins. Our folder is not very big, so we have to figure out a way to put all 4 parts on this folder. So we're going to be very economical with space. What I like to do is I always see that I already have straight edges on 3 sides of the folder, so I'm going to utilize these straight edges for a lot of my parts so that I don't have to worry about 90-degree angles in a lot of places. So I'm going to start with the main body panel when I build. Now if you look at our main body panel, the main body panel is 11 inches long by 4 inches wide with 2 1/2 inch sides and a 3-inch square in the back that folds down to create the airlift in the back of the main body panel. So I'm going to draw all of this out onto my folder to scale using these measurements. I'm going to use the bottom right corner of this folder because I have the little upper edge over here. I want to draw my fins over here so I have some more space over here. I'm going to draw the air scoop over here and the main body panel on the bottom. So I'm going to start from this corner. I'm going to say 11 inches. So I want to go 11 inches from the side of this folder. I'm going to put a little mark right down here at 11 inches. And I know it's 4 inches wide, so I'm going to measure from this corner. I'm going to measure up 4 inches. Put a little mark at 4 inches. And then I'm going to measure up from this 11-inch mark and put a mark at 4 inches. And then I'm going to measure between my 2 top points to make sure that it's 11 inches there, and it is. So now I'm going to draw my solid line along the top, connecting these 2 marks. Because on the plans it's a solid line, which means that it's a cut line. So a solid line here, and then I'm going to draw a vertical solid line on this side. For the front of my main body panel. So now I have an 11-inch by 4-inch rectangle. I've utilized this side and this bottom here so that I don't have to cut these out. So right now I only have to do 2 cuts to get 2 straight edges. So now I'm going to measure my 2 1/2-inch sides. So I'm going to line my ruler up. I'm going to be a little inventive here. I'm going to line my ruler up at the 1-inch mark, which it'll go down to the 5-inch mark here. And then I'm going to measure in 1/2 of an inch. From the 1-inch mark, I'm going to go 1/2 of an inch and put a little mark here. And from the 5-inch mark, I'm going to come up 1/2 inch, put a little mark there. Do the same thing on the other side. I start at the 1-inch mark because it's just a little easier for me to see. And I know that I have to come down 1/2 inch and up 1/2 inch. So put a little mark up 1/2 inch and put a little mark down 1/2 inch. Now I know that that's the 1/2 inch indicator, but I also learned that 3 inches, I have a cut line that's 3 inches long on each of these 1/2 inch sides. So I'm going to use my ruler and I'm going to connect these 2 and I'm going to line up that ruler right on the side. Let me get my head out of the way. And I'm going to draw a solid line for the first 3 inches, making sure I stop at 3 inches. A solid line for the first 3 inches, and then a dotted line, which is a fold line, the rest of the way, or a dashed line. There we go. So I have the first 3 inches are solid, and the next 8 inches, 8 inches are dashed. Do the same thing on the bottom. Line this up right at the edge, so I know that that's a accurate measurement. Line up the 2 lines. Solid line for the first 3 inches. Dotted line for the rest. Holding my ruler firmly in place. I just moved a little bit, so I got to move it back to make sure that my line is straight. All the way to the edge. There we go. Now I know that from my plans, there's a dotted line right here that goes across between those 2 3-inch cut lines. This is how we fold down the back of the air skimmer right here. You can see that the back of the air skimmer is folded down. That's why we have to cut out these 2 lines. And you can see the 2 sides are where the fins go. So I'm going to connect the ruler between these two lines, and they're both 3 inches long. I'm going to put a dashed line between the two of them. There we go. And there is my main body panel drawn on the folder, ready to cut out. Now I know that I have 3 more parts I have to draw. I have my air scoop, let me get that there, and my fence. I'm going to draw them right on this cut line. Well, why would you do that, Mr. Macronet? I want efficiency of cuts. I only want to have to make one cut to cut out 3 different parts, and I think that's pretty cool. And then I make sure that that one line is straight, and that's all I have to worry about. So I'm going to make this top line of the main body panel the bottom line of my air scoop and my fence. So I'm going to draw my air scoop first. Now if you look at my air scoop, it looks kind of confusing. But what it really is, it's a rectangle, or sorry, excuse me, it's a square. It's a 3-inch square with 2 trapezoids on each side. I think those are trapezoids. That are 1/8 of an inch to 3/8 of an inch. So here we go. Let's start with my 3-inch square. I'm going to move over a little bit from the side. I don't want to draw it right up against the side because I know that it has those 2 little flaps. So I'm going to start with my 3-inch square. Put one little mark at 3 inch right here. Another mark right at the edge of the ruler, so I know that's 3 inches. And then I know it goes up 3 inches. So put it right here on that mark. Make sure that's as right angle as I can get it. Put a little mark at 3 inches. And I'll put another little mark at 3 inches up over here. I'm just putting little indicator marks to let me know that that's where the outside corners of that square is. Another little 3-inch mark right there. Then I'm going to measure between these two to make sure that they're 3 inches apart. And they are. Now, the middle lines of these are fold lines. You see the 2 fold lines, the dashed lines? The outside, all the outside lines are cut lines. So my square on the top, it's going to have a solid line. I'll draw a solid line on the top. But on the sides, it's going to have dashed lines. Connect these 2 sides and draw some dashed lines on the side. There's one, and here's the other. So now I had to draw my 2 little flaps on the side. They're 3/8 of an inch at the bottom and 1/8 inch at the top. And they're solid cut lines, so I'm going to measure at the bottom 3/8 of an inch out. So I know from my inch ruler, you have whole inch, half inch, quarter inch, 1/8 inch. So that would be 1/8 right here and 3/8 right here. So here we go. 3/8 out. I'm kind of measuring backwards. This is something cool you can do. You can put the 3/8 line right where you want to start it, and you put a little indicator mark at 0. That's still 3/8 of an inch. On the other side, I don't have to do that. I can do it the conventional way. Start on the dotted line, out to 3/8, put a little line. Then at the top, it's only 1/8. So it's a very, very small line. So I'm just going to draw the line. I'm not going to put a little indicator mark. I'm just going to draw my little line out 1/8 of an inch. Again, put it on 1/8 of an inch, draw it to the end of the ruler. There you go. Okay, now I don't need to know the measurements for the up and down line. I just need to connect the 2 lines. So I have my little indicator mark on the bottom. I have the end of my 1/8 inch line at top. It's a solid cut line. I draw a line. And then I do the same thing on the other side. Connect my 2 lines. And I draw a solid cut line. There we go. And there's my air scoop drawn on my folder. The last part I need to draw are the fins. Now if you look at the fins are identical. They're both 3 inches long, 3 inches tall, with a 1/2 inch up on one side, 1/2 inch over on the top, and then you connect those dots. So this one's pretty simple. So they're both 3 inches. 3 plus 3 is 6. I'm going to start right on the outside edge here again, so I don't have to worry about cutting. I cut one line and I cut 2 parts at once. So I'm going to start out there. I'm going to put my ruler way out on the edge. I know that total, the air skimmer, the fins are 6 inches. So I'm going to put an indicator mark at 0. I'm going to put an indicator mark at 3. I'm going to put an indicator mark at 6. I'm going to come up 3 inches from the beginning because I know it's 3 inches tall. Put a little indicator mark right there. Come up 3 inches from the other side. Put a little indicator mark. And now again, I'm going to measure across to make sure that it's 6 inches across at the top to make sure that it's square. And it is not square. I am a little bit over 6 inches. Looking here, move that back. I'm going to redraw this indicator mark right there to make sure that it's square. That'll work. Erase the other one. So I'm going to draw a line to this indicator mark. One solid cut line up. And one solid cut line up over here. And in the middle, I'm going to measure up 1/2 of an inch. I'm going to draw my 1/2 inch cut line in the middle. Now at the top, I know that I still have these 1/2 inch lines that come over on the top. So I'm going to draw those 2 1/2 inch lines now. Going to line up my ruler from 1 to 6, and I'm just going to cheat a little bit here. Just draw a line that goes out 1/2 an inch and draw a line from 1/2 an inch down over here. I have my 2 1/2 inch lines. Now, really easy. I just got to connect the dots. I got to put the ruler between here and here, draw a straight line, and do the same thing on the other side. So I connect the end of that line, I connect the end of that line. Make sure they line up real nice. And I draw my cut line. Now I do the same thing on the other side. And I draw my cut line. And there we go. I have all the parts of my skimmer drawn onto my folder, ready for cutting out and folding.